Jonathan Dukes here, later, after everyone is caught, in an interview to Lieutenant Greg Johnson of the Portage County Sheriff's Office, indicates that he had placed his hand over Richard Lowther's mouth to keep him quiet. And then Richard said to him, "I'm an old man, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me." You'll see in a letter that Jonathan Dukes wrote that he admits to his entire involvement in this matter, with the exception of harming Richard Lowther. Jonathan Dukes says it was Cortez Oliver. Cortez Oliver says otherwise. So we have Jonathan and Cortez doing this. It's the other guy. Now, these folks were right to be concerned about Richard Lowther's neighbor. And his neighbor's name is Jim Oakes. And he lives in that small white house that you saw just across the driveway from Richard's residence. Mr. Oakes was sleeping, but he was awakened by his dog. He has a small pug, who began barking excitedly. He got up and he walked into his bathroom. And if you'll recall from that residence, there's a there's a window right here on the corner. That was his bathroom window. And Jim Oakes got up and went out, and he looked out that window. And as he did so, coming out what is often referred to as the front door of the residence, it's actually on the same side as that back porch door, but you saw it. You saw it from both the outside and the inside of the residence. He sees coming out of that door what he describes as a tall white guy or a light-skinned person, and a very short white female with, he thought, blonde hair. This happened very rapidly. Mr. Oakes didn't get a good look at them. He thought they both were carrying something out there in his hands, and he recognized this being close to Richard Lowther, having been in his residence, knowing what Richard did in terms of coin collections. He recognized these as coin collectors, tubes, boxes, and so on. These two run off. He then hears, well, actually he looks over toward the porch area, and he sees in that dim light on the porch someone crouching over a body on the floor. And he hears Richard Lowther say in kind of a weak voice, "What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me?" Jim Oakes reacts to this. He grabs a dowel rod that he keeps around the house, uses it to roll out dough, other uses for it. It's about an inch around, maybe 2 feet long. He grabs this and he heads out his side door there. And if you'll recall, his door comes out, not quite, but almost right across from the rear door on that enclosed porch in Richard's house. We know the person crouching over Richard Lowther at that time is Jonathan Dukes. Jonathan Dukes tells us that. Either Jonathan hears Richard open that screen door, or he hears him coming. And he reacts to that. And in Jonathan's own words, he gets up and he tries to step over Richard, and he may have stepped on Richard as he did that. And indeed, there's some indication that there's an imprint of a boot or a shoe on Richard's abdomen. Jonathan, he's getting out of that. And he heads into the house. And he goes through the kitchen into the front room towards that door. Jim Oakes, who knows the residence, realizes that there's only one other way out. So he turns and he heads for that door. And as Jonathan Dukes comes out, Richard swings at him with a dowel. Jim Oakes will tell you that Jonathan puts his arms up. Jim Oakes isn't sure if he hit him or not. And Jonathan hightails it out of there, runs toward Talmadge Road. Thank you, Art. At that time, Jim Oakes goes over to check on his friend Richard Lowther, and he then dials 911. And you're going to hear that 911 call as well. And if you listen carefully in the background, you can catch Richard Lowther saying, "Help me up. Help me up." But Richard Lowther can't get up because paralysis is already beginning to set in into his extremities at that time. Meanwhile, Cortez Oliver and Jody Fetty had run back. Darrell Dukes had come back around. Darrell Dukes was parked there somewhere on Talmadge Road. They jump into Darrell's car, and they're yelling, "Go, go, go." And there's some conversation in the car, and Darrell's concerned, "Where's John? Where's my cousin? Just go, just go." And they're driving back towards the gun, and they get a call, and it's Jonathan. Jonathan wants them to come back and get him. Now, at that point, someone makes a decision, well, we're not going back with these coins in the car because there's those boxes, that box of coins. So they decide they're going to pull over, they put out the coins, they get back in the car, they go out, and they pick Jonathan up on somewhere on Talmadge Road, somewhere near the intersection of Lakewood, and maybe down Lakewood a little bit. They're all driving back in the car, and they're talking about what happened. And at some point, Jonathan Dukes here reaches his hands out. And he says, "Look, I got blood on my hands. I've got blood on my hands." And you're going to hear, ladies and gentlemen, that he's the only individual who participated in this burglary and robbery that has blood on his hands. At that point, the four individuals drive back to the route. They, at some point, make a decision. They make a couple of stops. One of the stops is at Darrell Duke's parents' house, where Darrell acquires a Crown Royal bag. They transfer the coins from the boxes and the coin containers, and they put them in the Crown Royal bag. In the meantime, Portage County Sheriff's Office and Woodstown Fire Department EMTs had responded to Richard's house. Richard talks to the EMT, Michael Lee, and you're going to hear from him as to what Richard told him as well. And he is transported to Robinson Memorial's emergency room. The four left decide that they're going to cash these coins in. Giant Eagle in Ravenna is open all night long, so they go there. They go to Giant Eagle. On duty at Giant Eagle is Scott Krieger. He's an off-duty Ravenna police officer who's doing the security detail at Giant Eagle. And he's been listening to the radio traffic about what went on back at Richard Lowther's residence. And he just happens to see a car pull up along the side, the east side of the Giant Eagle building, where he can see them from the lobby area. And a short, white, blonde girl gets out. And she comes up to him holding a big bag, heavy bag, has her hand on the bottom, she's carrying it. And she wants to know if the service desk is open so she can cash these coins in. And he tells her no, but the coins are. Krieger, being alert, contacts